Hi, my name is Michaela, and I am going to be talking about our bees and our ecosystems. And so we are going to be using a combination of a book I found called What If There Were No Bees, a book about the grassland ecosystem. I personally do not own this book or have it with me. I did download it off of the Kindle app off my phone. So for today, I'm just going to read off my phone because I cannot find it anywhere near me. And then we're going to show an activity that children can do to combine our readings together and about bees. So I'm going to read this off my phone to you guys. It's called What If There Were No Bees, a book about the grassland ecosystem by Susan Stade. Don't be fooled by a bee size. It's tiny compared to the foxes, skunks, and owls that share its grassland home, but bees do the work of giants. Bees spend countless hours darting from flower to flower to collect pollen and nectar. Grassland plants, animals, and insects are tied to one another by food and chains. Bees, as well as other living things, belong to several chains. Many food chains are connected by one plant or animal to create larger food webs. So within our ecosystem, there are food chains. So you can see the fox, the bear, the birds, flowers. There's also a mouse right there. On the other side, there is a skunk, a wasp, a honeybee, a frog, a snake, and a hawk. Flowers are a bee's best friend. They're often filled with a sweet liquid called nectar. Bees sip nectar to keep up their energy. Honeybees also use nectar to make honey. As bees collect nectar, tiny pieces of pollen stick to their furry legs. When bees visit other flowers, the pollen falls off. Flowering plants need pollen to create seeds and fruit. This process is called pollination. So you can see on the bees' legs, they have little stumps of yellow dust. That is the pollen from the flower, and they're going to go to another flower to pollinate them all together. As bees fly around to collect food, they face many dangers. Spiders, birds, toads, and other hungry predators hunt these hardworking insects. Pollution and some of the pesticides farmers use to protect their crops can also hurt the bees. Mice often make unwelcome nests in honeybee boxes. While the mice aren't dangerous to the bees, they do damage the boxes and the bees' honeycomb. The smell of mouse droppings may cause bees to leave their hive for good. What would happen if bees became extinct? There were no bees. Farmers near grasslands would have a lot of trouble in growing crops. Farmers need bees, especially honeybees, to help pollinate their fruit and nut trees. Apple, cherry, plum, and avocado trees would produce less fruit or none at all without bees. Almond and macadamia trees would produce less too. See, if we did not have pollination, there is a mouse, and it's supposed to be a plant with berries on it, but the black dots are supposed to be where the berries are, but without bees, there are none. Field of strawberry plants wouldn't be able to produce fruit. Neither would blueberry plants. Without bees, there would be fewer carrots, onions, and other vegetables. Bees are major pollinators in many fruits and vegetable crops. Grassland wildflowers and other plants couldn't make seeds without bees. Flowering bushes in nearby forests couldn't grow berries for birds. Soon, many mice, squirrels, and other small animals would have been enough food to survive. So slowly, without our bees being able to pollinate and make fruit, slowly the other animals and flowers start to grow as well. Honeybees make honey from the nectar they collect. Bears, skunks, mice, and ants love the sweet honey. It's an important food source for them. Without honey, these animals and many others would suffer. So like everything slowly starts to go away. And then over here, there's also the bear with its honey. And there's animals that are starting to slowly suffer without the honey. Without bees, grasslands and nearby farms and forests would become quieter, less colorful places, fewer truckloads of fresh fruit and vegetables. No flowering plants blanketing the wide open fields, and no bright berries or crunchy seeds for the forest animals to eat. What would happen if bees became extinct? All kinds of things. The loss of one small creature, even as small as the bee, can have a huge effect on the ecosystems of our world. Today, scientists are studying bees closely to learn how to keep them safe and healthy. Farmers are finding new ways to control pests. All this hard work should mean more bees buzzing around in the future. Now with our story, have the children with this book during story time. I'm going to allow them to have this book with them, and then while I read, they will follow along, be able to see the different photos within it, make a connection of how bees pollinate, and how other animals and flowers get away from that. And then after reading, we're going to make a science experiment about it to learn about pollination itself. And so for this, I don't have all the materials, but you're going to need specifically 2 cupcake liners that are going to act as our flowers. You're also going to need some sand, some coffee grounds, and you're going to allow the children to make their own bees with little pom-poms and wires, wire cleaners, like the black ones, or the ones that you have with the children within your classroom. To begin that experiment with the children, make their own bees using 2 pom-poms, and they can stick them on either a skewer or on the end of a toothpick, something with our help that isn't too sharp for them to like hurt themselves in any way. And then they can use the wire cleaners or like the little antennas for them for the bees. And then you're gonna allow the children, if you have a helper for the day within the classroom, have the helper with the sand and the coffee, put one in each thing. We are gonna let the children do this all independently instead of all together, just so they can each have fun and have their own things. And so you're gonna have one of these filled with sand and one filled with coffee grounds. And then once you start the experiment, let the children, when they have those, be able to dip their bees into first the coffee grounds, let them see that the coffee grounds do connect to the bees, and then let them use the sand one with the ground coffee still on their fake bees to go in here. If done correctly for the children, they should be able to see that the coffee grounds and the sand that was on the bees are going to mix together. And then you'll be able to see from the children and from our reading that they can use the coffee grounds as flowers, like I said prior. And so they see that we do need different pollination from different flowers to help us. And then using these will help showing that pollination does actually work and does help us, and how using fake bees and our little fake flowers, the cupcakes and the coffee grounds and sand is our way of showing them the pollination that happens outside, but flowers are too small for us to see it. So seeing it from a wider perspective, and then allowing the children a little worksheet that they'll be able to write the recordings on to see what actually happened. The pollination did go from flower to flower, or in their case, cupcake liner to cupcake liner, which is our flowers, and then letting them draw what actually happens, what they see. They see the bee get covered in our fake pollen, and then how it transfers from the different ones and what that means for our ecosystems. And that right there is going to be their lesson plan and integrating our book reading and our science to see what happens in our real world and how bees actually do make an impact on us. Thank you.